Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. As ordained, this soul progresses slowly and steadily with the series Saints of India, sharing with you humbly the lives of the Mahatmas who blessed this land, Bharatadesha. At number 17 in the series, this soul is blessed to share with you the life of Sant Kabirdas. The contents of this episode have been derived as understood by the soul from the satsang conducted by Govindapuram Sri Balaji Bhagavatar. This soul prostrates at the feet of Sri Bhagavatar. Any addition or deletion may graciously be pardoned. When referring to various portals, one thing was common amongst them on the birth of Sant Kabir, that was contradictions. Hence, this soul took to the satsang of Sri Balaji Bhagavatar for reference because he has quoted Bhakti Vijayam written in 1762 by Mahipati Maharaj, which speaks volumes of the Varkari sect saints of Hinduism. Name of the parents of Sant Kabir who adopted are not mentioned, but it is known that the infant Kabir was found on the banks of Ganges by a weaver who followed Islam as his religion. The devout weaver and his wife were growing old. One of their wanting was a child. Every day during their prayers, they didn't fail to seek the blessings of the Almighty to be blessed with a child. The weavers of Varanasi would go to the Ganges to wash their yarn. It was one of those days when this devout Muslim went to wash his yarn when he heard the cry of a newborn baby. Wondering from where it came, he traced and found the child. At first, his emotions were that someone would have left the baby there and gone on an errand. But as time passed, he knew it was the answer of the Almighty to his prayers. He took the child and went home. Let us pause it here and learn about something important. Things were not all that well in Bharatvarsh. Spirituality and religious intolerance were at its peak and was heading to a point of no return. Lord Vishnu took cognizance of this and deputed Uddhava and Sukhabrahma to go down to earth and re-establish righteousness and spirituality in the world. Both Uddhava and Sukhabrahma whined at this thought but couldn't say no to the Lord. Understanding their predicament, the Lord said that they will be given an Ayoniji birth, meaning born as human but not the usual way a human is born. At the behest of the Lord, both of them were sent in casket as infants to Chandrabhaga river and Ganges to be born as Namdev Maharaj and Sant Kabir respectively. Getting back to the life of Sant Kabir, on reaching home, he narrated the sequence of events. The couple were happy at the new entrant to their family. They discussed within themselves and named him as Al-Kabir or the Great. As Kabir grew to be a young lad, it was time for his adopted father to reach the Almighty. Kabir was forced to take the reins of the family, and the first thing was to learn weaving. Like what his father did, he went to Ganges to wash the yarn. Unlike the current days, those days the entire city of Varanasi used to echo with Ram Nam Sankirtans and discourses on the ghats of the Ganges. Both Lord Shiva and Lord Ram were equally revered, but the name of Ram reverberated in his mind ever since he heard it first. Such was his affinity to the name of the Lord. Young Kabir would wash the yarn and as it dried, he used to listen to the discourses that were conducted on the ghats. Whenever he was free and didn't have work, he used to rush to the ghats to listen to the discourses which attracted him very much. He likened the subjects that were discussed and took a special liking towards Lord Rama. In the satsangs, Upanishads and Vedas were discussed in detail and the message they contained were detailed in threadbare. The youth's heart was etched with the fine points of the satsangs and started earning why there wasn't a system in the religion he followed. He realized that it was not just the name of Ram, the very Ram lived within and outside. Ram was to the right and to the left. Ram is in you and he is in me. But this can be realized by one only when they are initiated into the dharma and guided by a guru. He felt the absence of his guru and started his search. He went and asked the leaders in the mass and asked them why there wasn't the practice of Guru Sishya system in their religion. They informed him that religions differ and so their ways of worship. They told him not to listen to the discourses of the Hindus and be carried away. Kabir was disturbed a lot. He discussed about this with his mother, who reprimanded him for going and attending the discourses of the Hindus. She told him that faiths differ between the Hindus and Islam and that he should be following his faith, Islam. Kabir was not satisfied with the reply. He continued his search of his guru. A renowned Swamiji by name Ramananda lived in Varanasi. He was an ardent follower of the teachings of Sri Ramanuja, who advocated Dvaita as a way of worship, contrary to Shankara's Advaita. He had many disciples who went with him wherever he went. People came in hordes to listen to him. He was much revered in Varanasi. Once Kabir happened to see him from a distance, and the first thought that struck him was, "This is my Guru. I will get initiated from him and will also learn the Guru Mantra from him." Kabir was happy that he was able to identify his Guru after a long search, much to his satisfaction. Irrespective of his religion, he will be my Guru, he said. Kabir went to the mutt the next day and was taught by his disciples for entering into the mutt. When they inquired, he said that he has come to meet his Guru and wanted the people to give way. The disciples scolded him and asked him to stay away from there since their Swamiji cannot be a Guru for a person of a different faith. Kabir didn't lose heart and he repeatedly went to the door but was turned away repeatedly. Now the biggest challenge to him was how to break through the fortress formed by his disciples and reach his Guru to be initiated or even speak to him. Kabir started to follow his Guru's activities and movements. He started taking note of when does he come to the Ganges for bath, which direction he comes from, and how long does he stays there, and how does he leave the ghat after taking bath, when does he leave and in which direction. But one thing that was thorn in his flesh were the disciples who continuously moved like a mobile fort around him. After much thinking, he decided to try out a way to be blessed by his Guru. According to his observance, Ramananda Swamiji comes to take bath at around 3:30 a.m. in Brahma Muhurtam. Also, the Swamiji asked his disciple to stay at a distance before he alighted the steps of the Kedar Ghat. Kabir had his blueprint made. One day, early in the morning, under the cover of darkness, he went to Kedar Ghat, where the disciples do not accompany the Swamiji when he takes his dip in the Ganges. After completing his bath, Ramananda Swamiji started climbing the steps of the Ghat. In one of the steps, he felt the step soft and said, "Ram, Ram," thinking that he had stepped on someone. In fact, his thoughts were right. How can a learned person think any differently than the fact? Ramananda Swamiji had in fact stepped on the head of Kabir, who was hiding inside the sack on which the Swamiji stepped. Hearing the Swamiji uttering Ram Ram, the disciples who were just few yards away came running, suspecting something has happened to their Guru. They saw the Swamiji and the young Kabir, who was trying to slip away from the place. They caught hold of him and were about to beat him when the Swamiji told them to let him go. Kabir's joy knew no boundaries. He was thrilled for having been blessed knowingly or unknowingly by his Guru and also been given the Guru mantra, Ram, Ram. He kept chanting Ram Ram always and found limitless joy in it. His community people came to know about the happenings and were aghast with anger. They pulled him up and literally manhandled him. He asked the clergy, "There is a guru in Hindu community who guides his disciples and the public towards salvation by doing and saying good deeds. But there isn't any in our community. If there is one, I am ready to tag their line," he said. There wasn't any answer forthcoming from the clergy other than reprimanding Kabir. Kabir kept knocking at the door of Swamiji to seek his blessings, but seeing Kabir with his kufi, the disciples ridiculed him, abused him, and drove him away. But perseverance is part of Guru Bhakti. Kabir didn't relent or got intimidated by the advances of the disciples. He kept knocking at the door of his Guru. Patience also has certain limits, and the disciples were no excuse to it. One day, they lost their cool and manhandled Kabir, who took every slap of theirs with a smile and Ram's name in his lips and left the place. They couldn't handle him any further. They went and complained to the Swamiji. They said, "Swamiji, a mad fellow wearing a kufi comes every day umpteen times and claims that you are his guru and wanted to see you and get your blessings." They twisted the story in such a way that the Swamiji became inquisitive to know all about this new uninitiated disciple of his. The Swamiji with his disciples ventured out and found in the marketplace a young boy wearing his kufi was chanting Ram's name and was in a state of trance. Ramananda went in front of him and called his name loudly, "Kabir." This shook Kabir out of his trance, and he was thrilled to see his guru whom he had been yearning to meet. He immediately fell at his feet and requested that Ramananda Swamiji accept him as his disciple. Though Ramananda Swamiji knew who Kabir was and what was his role going to be for the world to know, he pulled himself away and told, "What nonsense are you talking? Why should I accept you as my disciple?" Kabir was unrelenting. Meanwhile, when the disciples came to chase away Kabir, Ramananda Swamiji threw his wooden sandals at him to scare him away. Kabir caught those flying sandals with all reverence and claimed that he has received his birth gift, his Guru Padukas. What else is required for a disciple more than his Guru's Padukas? Ramananda Swamiji saw this behavior of Kabir, went to him and embraced him and said, "You are a true disciple. Even during the worst situation, your bhakti towards your Guru didn't change. I accept you as my disciple." His disciples watched this with shock and disbelief. Ram Ram continued to be his Guru mantra. Whatever Kabir saw or whatever he did, he saw Ram in it. There are plenty of instances to quote where, though Kabir didn't have direct interaction with Lord Sri Ram, but was blessed by Lord Sri Ram every now and then. It so happened there was an urgent order to weave a silk angavastra. The yarn that was given to weave were green and blue in color. Kabir saw the colors of Ram in the thread and went into a trance. He was chanting Ram Nam, but nothing was woven. When the time came for delivery of the fabric, to everyone's surprise, the fabric was complete in all dimensions, though Kabir didn't weave a single weft or warp of the fabric. When Kabir had lost himself in the colors of Ram, which he saw in the yarn, Lord Sri Ram himself had come and woven the fabric for him. Once Urvasi tried to entice Sukabrahma in the celestial world but was unsuccessful despite her numerous efforts. When she came to know about the new assignment of Sukabrahma, she pleaded to Lord Vishnu. Urvasi requested that she be given an opportunity to serve him in the Boloka at least. She was given the boon. Accordingly, she was born to a family following Islam as Sundara Bibi. As destined, Kabir got married to her, much to the wishes of his mother. Sundara, as the name suggests, had all the 64 Samudrika Lakshana in her. After all, she is Urvashi. Who else can be so charming? Kabir and his wife hosted saints and sages who came to Varanasi with the meager income Kabir was making. They found happiness in it, and they saw the Lord in them. He had borrowed from almost all the shops in the city, and now none were ready to give him any credit, for they knew that the money will not come back. At this point of time, there were a group of sages who had come to Varanasi, been invited, and there wasn't anything that could be cooked or served to them. As if God sent, a new shop was opened in the city of Varanasi. The couple were happy because he would not know their antecedents of not paying for the products they had bought. When Sundara approached the shopkeeper for credit, the shopkeeper told that he is very much aware of the couple and would not give unless something is given to him in return. For this, she said that she had nothing to give, but the shopkeeper insisted that there is something which she can give him, and he expressed his lust that he wanted a body to be surrendered to him. With guests at home and the husband hosting them, if she returns bare hand, then they will be subject to unwanted scoldings and curses. She, with much hesitation, acceded to the request on the condition that she would come back after serving the guests at home, to which the wretched shopkeeper agreed. Sundara rushed to her house, cooked food, and served the guests. After the meal, they left. Kabir was awestruck at the capability of Sundara and asked her how she managed it. She narrated the entire sequence to him. Kabir praised her dedication to him and said that she was epitome of service to saints and sages. He also said that at nightfall he will only carry her to the shop and leave her there. At nightfall, Kabir carried Sundara and dropped her at the shop which was about to close. Having left her there, Kabir did not even turn around and see. He left her there and headed straight home. The shopkeeper asked Sundara to go and be in the room at the end of the house till such time he comes. He closed the shop, locked it, and was halfway to the room where Sundara was there. He heard loud banging at the door, and the voice asked him to open the shop. When the shopkeeper asked who they were, reply came that they were the officers from the Kotwal's office. He ran and opened the store for them. They inspected the entire place and came to the room where Sundara was there. They asked her, "Aren't you Kabir's wife?" When she answered in the affirmative, they asked her the reason for being there and at that hour of night. The entire sequence was told to them. The officers warned the shopkeeper as to how he can even think of this evil to a pious couple and advised him to maintain silence on the issue lest he should be pulled up. The two officers then guided Sundara back home. Kabir was informed about what happened. When he came out and saw there wasn't any officer, he went to the Kotwal's office to thank him, but the Kotwal denied any knowledge of this incident. Then it struck to him that it was none other than Ram and Lakshman who had come to save them from ignominy. The couple were blessed with a boy who they named as Kamal. Kamal grew up as a young man and was in line with his parents' noble thoughts and deeds. Years passed by, but the death of the family never ended. Kabir happened to receive Dhyaneshwar Maharaj and his disciples once in Varanasi. As usual, there wasn't anything left at home for him to serve them. Leaving Sundara Baby at home, the son suggested to his father that he carry along with him a sickle and a gunny bag. At dusk, both of them left to a shop. When Kabir inquired about the sickle, Kamal said that it would be of help at times of emergency. They went to a shop which was closed and made a hole in the wall through which Kamal slid in and started sending goods through the hole to Kabir. At one point of time, he fell on something and it awakened the shop owner. He came running into the store and Kamal tried to escape through the hole he came in. He was able to get his head out, but by the time the shop owner caught his legs, started pulling him in, Kamal, despite best of his effort, was not able to come out. To avoid being identified as Kabirdas and his son Kamal, he immediately asked his father to chop his head and take it away. With much hesitation, Kabir chopped his son's head, wrapped it in his towel, and carried the provisions home along. The food was cooked and served. All the people slept other than the couple. The shopkeeper complained to the Kotwal about a headless thief and how it could have happened. Kotwal asked the shopkeeper to hang the body in the middle of the town so that vultures can have a go at the body. Seeing what's happening to the body, the relatives of the thief would come and claim the body wherein they can be caught. Early next morning, Dhaneshwar and his disciples, accompanied with Kabir, went to Ganges to take bath. En route, they were singing bhajans. When they came across the junction where the body was hung, the headless corpse started clapping in tune with the bhajans. Dhaneshwar Maharaj asked what happened and why is this corpse there. He also inquired about Kamal, whom he hadn't met so far. Kabir spelled out what had happened and started crying. Dhaneshwar Maharaj asked Kabir to bring the head and attach it to the body. He sang an abhang in praise of the Lord, and lo, Kamal came to life and the shopkeeper fell at their feet. Kamal's Vrindavan is in Pandharpur till date. In another instance, there were many devotees who had come to Kabir's house. On one side, he was happy that the Lord has given him the opportunity to serve so many of them, and at the same time, he didn't know where to go for the provisions. He told Sundara that he will find out from where he can get the provisions so that food can be cooked on time to serve the devotees. He went around the city and came back empty-handed. When he entered the house, he saw piles of sacks with provisions. Then he asked Sundara about them. She told him that 2 young men had come to deliver the provisions as ordered by Kabir. They also mentioned that their names were Ram Singh and Lakhan Singh. Kabir burst into tears, for his wife had the darshan of the Lord but not him, but at the same time thanked him for his blessings on him. Ibrahim Said Lodi, who was the ruler of the kingdom which included Varanasi, came to know about Kabir and his affinity towards Hinduism. He reprimanded Kabir and asked him to follow the dictates of Islam or face expatriation. Kabir was adamant and was not ready to mend his ways and finally faced expatriation. He happily visited Rameshwaram and on way went to Bhadrachalam too. There he stayed at Sant Ramdas' house and accepted him as his disciple. Kabir wanted to share with the world all his learning, for he firmly believed that one knows his birth but will not be alive to know his death. That's the beauty of life, he says. He further asks why people do not utilize it appropriately instead of going behind materialistic pleasures. Why don't they chant the Almighty's name and attain salvation? Kabir also wanted the people to leave superstition. For this purpose, he wanted to die in a place other than Varanasi, for people believe that if someone dies in Varanasi, they will attain salvation. Kabir wanted the people to come out of this myth. Hence, Kabir moved away from Varanasi to Maghar and wanted to die there. Kabir fell ill sometime in 1518. When his last days were near, there was a fight between Hindus and Muslims as to how to perform the last rites. Kabir, hearing the commotion, called them inside and said, "I am still alive. When I am gone, there would be no reason for you to fight," he said. That night, he mingled with the Almighty. When the disciples removed the blanket on top of his body in the morning, they found flowers in the bed and nothing more. The Muslims took the flowers to bury, while Hindus cremated them. Hope you liked this episode of Saints of India. If you would like to support this cause of mine, you can contribute through patreon.com, the details of which appear in the description. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.